month and the ninth day with him in the calendar in the 16th year of Changgi. Temer is sitting in front of the second king, Chenggu Gyeongjin. Let's take our usual tour around the kingdom right now in Chongpyeong, Tennessee. 62 degrees, mostly cloudy, and areas of fog this morning. Some sun with a passing shower or two. High of 78 today. Mostly cloudy tonight. Low of 57. Yeah, nice autumn weather there. And in father's hometown of Cheongju in North Pyongan Province, Korea, it is 62 degrees and mostly cloudy right now, and cloudy with a passing shower or two tonight. Low of 57, and tomorrow cloudy in the morning with a couple of showers and intervals of clouds and sunshine in the afternoon. High of 77. And tonight there's going to be some rain starting maybe right about now, actually, and then could get heavy at times as we go through the night there. And then at the Cheonggyeong Palace in Northeast Pennsylvania, currently 50 degrees and mostly cloudy. Very warm. Let's see what they mean by very warm. With sun and areas of high clouds. High of, oh no, very warm, 78. Okay. All right. 78, very warm. Okay, let's go with that. All right. Tonight, partly cloudy, low of 43. And then in Liberty Rock RV Camp Park Ground in Limestone County, Texas, right now cloudy and 65, plenty of sun, and a high of 90 degrees today. They don't say anything about being warm, just high of 90 degrees, that's all. And tonight, clear and low of 63. At the Suncheon Palace in Korea, currently 64 and clear, and getting down to 55 tonight. Continued clear skies tomorrow. Sunshine and a few clouds, high of 83. And at the Gunma Palace in Japan, currently mostly cloudy and 76. Low of 64 tonight, cloudy with a couple of showers. Tomorrow, cloudy and humid, afternoon showers, high of 74. And then Ilan, Taiwan, currently 82. And clear skies tonight, getting down to 75. Wow, getting into the 70s now. Looks like autumn has come to Taiwan as well. Tomorrow, hot with sun through high clouds, and a high of 94. Yes, even in autumn. Tomorrow's the 1st of October, but still going to be in the 90s during the day. My goodness. But at least during the night, it's going to be cooler. All right. Let's go to Father's Word and see where we are today. Get some light here. I'm in the book on human life and the world of the spirit. That's my translation, anyway, of the title of the chapter. Okay, here we go. Okay. In the spirit world, what you wear, what you eat, and where you live are not issues. All these things are according to your, or you can do whatever you want. And when Father says spirit world, sometimes, and this is an example, he's talking about the kingdom of heaven, right? And I think that's the case anyway. So obviously, if you go there with a low spirit realm, then what this may not apply to that. So once you stand in the realm of oneness in love and the realm of being the object partner to God, you can do what God does. You can do anything. But you can do anything, but you're one with God, God's heart, all right? So you're not gonna do bad things. You can do all the good that you want. Because remember, here you are. You're in the realm of being the object partner of God, okay? And you're in the realm of unity and love, okay? But once you're in that realm, you can do anything you want, all the good that you want, okay? And the years of several hundred million years you can supersede or rise above that in one moment. The speed of love is speed. It is extraordinary speed. It is very fast, very fast. Okay, turn this off. Oh, no, turn off. There we go. All right. May God bless the reading of His Word. Thank you very much, Father. Yes, Father tries to explain spirit world to us, but don't have to go there. Especially, the spirit world of that he's talking about, the kingdom of heaven in the spirit world is a very different world from what we are accustomed to. A world of breathing love, a world of not having to worry about your what you wear, what you eat, what you wear, or shelter, anything like that. All those things you can do as you like. So that again underlines my contention that my interpretation of Father's, sort of speaking about spirit world, that in spirit world you create your own reality. Again, I'm talking about, well, yeah, I'm talking about the spirit world where you are, as Father just said, united with God in love. You create your own reality. So you can wear whatever you want, you can eat whatever you want, and you can have whatever shelter you may want. All right. And for other places, Father talks about, if you want to have a banquet, right, with 1,000 people, boom, bam, it happens. So you're creating your own reality, which I think is going to be very interesting. You can meet whoever you want and stuff like that. Okay. And we saw that Dr. San Lee, um, a 36 couple who went to the spirit world sometime in the 2000s, I guess it was, probably, yeah, I think before 2010, and communicated letters back to a spiritual medium. And then those letters were presented to Father, and he authorized them as being authentic. And so what he described about spirit world is very, very interesting. And I think if you have a chance to read them, it'd be a good idea to do so. Although, unfortunately, the English translation was left a whole lot to be desired. Okay, so um, let's get in now to what is going on. And let's see here. So yesterday, Monday, President Trump declared a historic day for eternal peace in the Middle East. And he believes, and you got to know when it comes to the Middle East, you have to have some degree of skepticism. But yesterday he had a news conference with Netanyahu at the White House, and he believes that he's come to a deal with a historic day for eternal peace. Eternal. Well, in the Middle East, eternal lasts maybe 3 days sometimes. We'll see. Let's see what this is about. President Donald Trump declared Monday a historic day for eternal peace in the Middle East, following a meeting with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu at the White House. So this is a big, big day, Trump said at the joint appearance with Netanyahu that aired live on Newsmax. A beautiful day, potentially one of the greatest days ever in civilization. Yes, Trump is not shy, that's for sure. Things that have been going on for hundreds of years and thousands of years. We are, at a minimum, very, very close. And I think we're beyond very close. Well, come on, uh, as they say, close only counts in horseshoes, and where else is it? Anyway, I think, come on. And I want to thank Bibi. We've worked well together as we have with many other countries, both of us with many other countries, which is the only way this whole situation gets solved. And we're not just talking about Gaza. Gaza is one thing, but we're talking about much beyond Gaza. The whole deal, everything getting solved. It's called peace in the Middle East. Earlier Monday, the White House released Trump's principles for peace, which Trump said Netanyahu agreed to, though not Iranian-backed Hamas. Well, I think I saw somewhere else that Hamas actually, let's see here. Okay. Where did I see that? That's Hamas may be okay with this as well. Let me quickly do a search here. Hamas, Trump, peace. See what they're saying. Okay, they're reviewing. I see. Okay. All right. So let's Trump and Netanyahu tell Hamas to accept Gaza ceasefire plan or else. Okay. Let's take a look at BBC here. All right, let's see. Israel will forcibly resist Palestinian statehood as Trump warns Hamas to accept peace plan. Hamas is reviewing a Gaza peace plan announced by Donald Trump in the White House on Monday. The 20-point plan includes an end to fighting, the return of Israeli hostages, and an international board of peace to help run Gaza, which would include former Prime Minister Tony Blair, the Labor Party, right? The leftist. I don't know about that. The plan also raises the possibility of a credible pathway to Palestinian self-determination and statehood if conditions are met. But Netanyahu insists the plan does not mean Palestinian statehood and that Israel will forcibly resist the idea. Trump, who announced the plan alongside Netanyahu, says if Hamas doesn't accept, he gives Israel full backing to do what you would have to do. Hamas are said to be reviewing the plan in good faith. Okay. That does not sound too good. Doesn't sound to me like they're all that close. Board of Peace. You got to be kidding me. Who's going to be on this Board of Peace? What is Trump's Gaza peace plan? Immediate cessation of military operations, release within 72 hours of 20 living Israeli hostages held by Hamas, and the remains of more than 24 believed to be dead, hundreds of detained Palestinians, and the remains of other Gazans to be released by Israel, Hamas to lay down its arms, and to have no role in governing Gaza. We talked about this before, didn't we? Where they're asking Hamas to give up power. Once sides agree to the proposal, full aid to be immediately sent into the Gaza Strip, future governance of the Gaza Strip to be a technocratic, apolitical Palestinian committee. What are you going to have? Do I have AI? Yeah, you're going to have an AI governor there? Apolitical, technocratic? I don't know. Tony Blair? Yeah. With oversight by an international board of peace headed by Trump and including former UK PM Tony Blair and other leaders. The plan leaves the door open for a future Palestinian state, although Netanyahu again ruled this out on Monday. Doesn't sound to me like this is really going to be, solving things that have gone on for thousands of years. Anyway, I'm hearing Hamas wants to get this done too, which is a good thing. Trump said if Hamas rejects the deal, which is always possible, they're the only one left. Everyone else has accepted it, but I have a feeling that we're going to have a positive answer. But if not, yeah, I know what I was thinking of. The Arab states are the ones I think that accepted it, right? How Arab nations reacted. Okay, let's go to Al Jazeera for that. The Palestinian Authority joins regional leaders in welcoming U.S. President's 20-point peace plan to end the war in Gaza. Okay, Palestinian Authority is, of course, the ones that are in charge or governing the West Bank. They're not governing Gaza. And this would certainly be advantageous to them because it would remove Hamas from the picture. and perhaps Palestine. Although I think Netanyahu in the past has ruled out the possibility of Palestinian Authority extending its authority into the Gaza Strip. In the past, I think he's done that. But this board of what is it? Board of they're going to rule Gaza by committee, right? Okay, my grain of salt is getting bigger and bigger here. All right, here, United States President Donald Trump has proposed has been welcomed by Palestinian, which governs the occupied West Bank, along with some regional Arab countries. All right, well, sounds good. Well, regional Arab countries are also pretty fed up with Hamas. That is true. Hamas is said to be studying. Both are below reactions are from across the world. Palestinian Authority. Okay, we already got that. Let's look at somebody else. Egypt, Indonesia, Jordan, Pakistan, Qatar, Saudi Arabia, and Turkey and UAE. Well, that's a big lineup. The foreign ministers of the above countries released a joint statement welcoming Trump's sincere efforts to end the war in Gaza and assert their confidence in his ability to find a path to peace. In other words, thanks for doing what we should have done, but didn't have the willpower or something to actually get it done. Along these lines, the ministers welcomed the announcement by President Trump regarding his proposal to end the war, rebuilding Gaza, prevent the displacement of the Palestinian people. Thanks for keeping the Palestinian people in Gaza because we don't want them. And now you're keeping them in Gaza, and we're truly, sincerely grateful for that, is what that means. And advance a comprehensive peace, as well as his announcement that he will not allow the annexation of the West Bank. The statement added, okay, so Israel's not going to be allowed to annex the West Bank. That's been something that the Palestinians and I think Arabs as well have been concerned about. The statement went on to say that the countries are willing to work with the United States to end the war in Gaza through a comprehensive deal that ensures unrestricted delivery of sufficient humanitarian aid to Gaza, no displacement of the Palestinians, underlining that, put that in caps, to release some hostages, a security mechanism that guarantees the security of all sides, full Israeli withdrawal, rebuilds Gaza, and creates a path for a just peace on the basis of the two-state solution, under which Gaza is fully integrated with the West Bank and a Palestinian state in accordance with international law as key to achieving regional stability and security. Right. Okay. Okay. So, so this idea of having a Palestinian state that is divided between the West Bank over here and Gaza down here has been discussed before, and people have been skeptical. Long-term or long-distance relationships generally don't work out, all right, among human beings and also between countries. There used to be a country called, or was it a country? Anyway, um, Pakistan, used to have this, right? What's Bangladesh today actually used to be a part of Pakistan with India in the middle. And it didn't really work out. And so in Bangladesh, they just said, okay, we're going to become independent. I think there was a war or anyway, some trouble over that. But eventually Pakistan broke away Bangladesh broke away from Pakistan. And now they want to try this two-state solution, okay, but also this long-distance relationship solution to to the independent Palestinian state. And there have been discussions, for example, well, you could have a corridor. You can have a corridor between the two, where Palestinians will be free to travel, and Israel will not impede the traffic between the two pieces of Palestine. That's been discussed, but that didn't seem so good either. Of course, well, I don't know. We know that Hamas is good at building tunnels. They really do excel at building tunnels, but I don't know if they can build a tunnel that long. I'm not exactly sure of the distance right now, but it's It's not very short. So President Trump is popping the champagne cork before Hamas actually agrees. But and President Trump says, "Hey, if you don't agree with this, then I'm going to let Israel do whatever it wants." And that's probably what's going to be the end result of this, of sort of Trump say, "Okay, I tried, and Hamas, you guys rejected it. Now Israel has my full blessing to go in and just wipe you guys out." That it seems to be the most likely outcome of this. We'll see what Hamas has to say. But somehow, of course, Hamas is going to want to maintain power. I mean, what else do they have, right? What else do they have? The PLO, the Palestinian Liberation Organization, when they were causing a lot of trouble, they were at one time exiled to Libya, I believe, and they were forced to pull out of of Palestine, the area around Israel, and they were all sent to Libya. And that was what happened once. That was a solution back then. Are they going to do something like that with Hamas? But Hamas is not too popular among Arab states either. Uh, I noticed that Libya is not one of those, not one of the countries that's listed here. Egypt, Indonesia, Jordan, Pakistan, Qatar, Saudi Arabia, Turkey, and UAE. And what on earth is a former prime minister of the UK doing on this sort of a board of governors? What did they call it? Board of something, right? What on earth? I mean, this whole thing, this whole mess, right, was caused by the UK slash Britain slash England and France to some extent. Um, so is it sort of a guilt trip that's or does Tony Blair not have a job? Does he not have an income? Does he, does he need a job? Is that what's going on? I don't know what's going on here. Why Tony Blair, for crying out loud? I don't know. Maybe I suppose someone in the UK probably has an answer to that. But anyway, seems strange, seems strange, seems strange. Yeah, yeah. I think you can't call it a grain, can you? That's a big whole rock of salt there I've got on this thing. We'll see how this turns out. Maybe I'm wrong. I doubt it, though. I doubt it. Skepticism always wins out when it comes to the Middle East. Let's take a look at what this is here. They got some sort of a chart here. What's this here? Can I get this bigger? Okay, we got some lines here. Uh, okay. Idea of current line of control. Okay, so this is current line of control of the this is released. Okay, the red line is second withdrawal when ISF mobilized per standards set in Trump plan. ISF. What on earth is ISF? International Security Force, I guess, right? I suppose. Third withdrawal, security buffer zone. Okay, so this is a third withdrawal. And as you can see, and this is often overlooked, Gaza has a border with Egypt, which Egypt keeps very, very tightly closed. They do not want Palestinians overflowing into their country. And is Egypt on that list? I don't think so. Right, let's reset this. Is Egypt on that list? That's not the one. Okay. Oh, it is okay. Egypt is on there, number one. Okay. So Egypt likes it, Indonesia likes it, Jordan likes it, Pakistan, Qatar, Saudi Arabia, Turkey, and UAE. Who's missing here? Iran, well, that's because Iran backs Hamas. So Iran is going to tell Hamas what to do, I suppose. Iran and, well, Iraq is not on the list. And that's about it. I don't know why Iraq wouldn't be on the list. They're trying to be a good guy these days. They should get on the bandwagon here. Turkey, I commend Trump's efforts and leadership. All right, all right. But all these guys know that um, there's actually not a big chance that Hamas is going to go along with this, except for the threat that okay, if we don't do this, we're going to get Trump's going to allow Israel to just come in and wipe us out. So what shall we do? What shall we do? What shall we do? Maybe that's what they're discussing right now. But I don't know. I don't know. Has he finally caught Hamas in a place where they can't escape? We shall see. All right. In the meantime, let's just sort of put that on the back burner and see what else we got going on here. Okay. Right. Let's see. I wanted to do. Okay. Let's first of all do this one. Putin orders 135,000 men to join the military in largest fall draft in 9 years. 9 years would go back before the Ukraine war. From October 1 to December 31, 2025, conscript 135,000 Russian citizens aged 18 to 30 who are not in the reserve and are subject to enlistment into military service. The decree states, according to a TASS state-owned news agency. So, are there still 135,000 people who are not, 18 to 30, who are not in the reserve and are subject to enlistment? Okay, and the head of the Russian General Staff's mobilization department has also insisted that the conscripted soldiers will not be deployed to the forces currently invading Ukraine, a promise Moscow has previously been accused of breaking. I would not depend on that promise. The latest order also calls on federal agencies to organize the conscription of federal employees as well as workers from subordinate organizations. Russia holds conscription drives twice a year in the spring and fall, with last autumn's drive bringing in about 133,000 soldiers. Since the full-scale invasion of Ukraine began in 2022, the Russian military has averaged about 127,000 new conscripts every fall. Earlier this year, Russia recruited 160,000 during the spring draft cycle. So I guess they still have folks, right? So they have federal employees and so forth in their subordinate organizations. All right. Okay. So Putin is getting ready to continue the war. Okay. Now, next, I wanted to do this story. It's an opinion piece on the relationship between South Korea and the U.S. And I don't know whether this was published, but I read this and I think he's pretty spot on. So let's go through this together. President Donald Trump had South Korea's new leftist president, Lee Jae-myung, panicking after his Truth Social wrote, "What is going on in South Korea seems like a purge or revolution. We can't have that and do business there. I am seeing the new president today at the White House. Thank you for your attention to this matter." Trump was referring to the Lee administration's aggressive efforts to punish former President Yoon Suk-yeol and to intimidate conservative opponents, including religious groups. The South Korean government investigative raid on the jointly operated Osan Air Base was also on Trump's mind. So, yeah, the Osan Air Base is a base that's jointly operated by U.S. and South Korean. The South Korean law enforcement officials wanted to execute a search warrant on one of the Korean facilities in the airbase. And so they just sort of went in to the airbase without sort of prior clearance from the U.S. And the U.S. side was angry about that. And even though the facility that was where the search warrant was executed was not a U.S. facility, still, U.S. side said, "Well, listen, they, you know, they went through the base with their eyes open and everything, and they could see stuff that they weren't supposed to see, that they didn't have clearance to see, and this kind of stuff." And frankly, it was a thing where, some uh, communication beforehand probably would have resolved the situation. But I think Lee Jae-myung and his government wanted to show the Americans that the sort of previous standards of mutual respect and so forth, and this kind of thing was not going to be present in the current leftist administration, and they succeeded in doing that. And Trump heard about it. He was upset about it. Pentagon, I'm sure, was upset about it. This is Lee Jae-myung right here in the middle. He's during the 80th anniversary of Korea's liberation from Japanese colonial rule in South Korea. And actually, they keep saying colonial rule, but actually it was annexation. It wasn't just a colonial. But then Trump eased up. Later, in good-natured joint press conference with Lee, Trump said it might have been just a misunderstanding or rumor. Misunderstanding, as I explained back then, is a code word among Koreans. Means that we paper over our disagreements. That's what it means. Maybe the $350 billion in South Korean investment into the U.S. and buying another $100 billion of U.S. energy loosely agreed to in July had something to do with it. But Trump squandered a golden opportunity to bolster the pro-U.S. constituency in South Korea and to put Lee on notice. Yeah. Often I find that South Korea is far less understood among people in Washington compared to Japan. Japan is much better understood in Washington than South Korea is, unfortunately. And unfortunately, I think many times South Korea is sort of lumped in with Japan. What works in Japan is going to work in Korea. That kind of thinking seems to be present among many people in Washington when actually that is far from the truth. Lee probably couldn't believe his good fortune. He had avoided the Zelensky treatment, addressing down in the White House, and could go home saying the Americans approved of him and his administration. Yes, and that was the point. And this despite allegations of election fraud and Lee's heavy-handed treatment of opponents and the apparent pro-North Korea, pro-China, and anti-American leanings of Lee and certain of his officials. Lee could even quietly claim he tamed Donald Trump. Has he reciprocated Trump's restraint? Hardly. He stepped on the gas and doesn't seem to care if Washington notices. Lee is still targeting religious organizations and arresting pro-conservative religious leaders. He continues to imprison the former president under harsh conditions and has arrested and imprisoned Yoon's wife. He's harassing opposition parties, including police intimidation of citizens, especially those promoting electoral integrity. And as for the U.S.-South Korea military alliance that Lee said was so important, shortly after taking office, Lee recently posted on social media, "What is important is to reject the submissive mindset that national self-reliant defense is impossible without foreign troops." In other words, South Korea would be better off without U.S. troops around. Lee had to know how it would be interpreted, not least since he's already on record calling American forces an occupation force. And his administration cracks down on anti-China protests while allowing anti-U.S. protesters to deface pictures of Trump or protesting in front of the American embassy. Lee has also just backpedaled on the promise to invest $350 billion in the U.S., saying it will wreck the South Korean economy. Why did the Trump administration back off instead of calling out Lee's anti-democratic behavior? Maybe lobbyists got to somebody close to Trump. Maybe he was following U.S. embassy Seoul or State Department advice. U.S. Embassy Seoul does sometimes act as if rock leftists are the preferred South Korean administration. And the State Department, you any rough patches. In South Korea, scorched in blood of the Korean War. Any leftists are just a noisy minority posing little danger. Um, the leftists in South Korea believe that uh, the U.S. Acted against Korean interests when it intervened in the Korean War. If not for that intervention, they say, Korea today would be united. And it was nosy Americans and 15 other countries that came in and blocked the effort to unite Korea. These are people in South Korea, right? These are people in South Korea who say that. So, of course, that is the North Korean line as well. And there is a significant contingent of people who follow the North Korean line, and some of them are in Lee Jae-myung's administration. Some of them were in previous leftist administrations. Yeah, they were in Moon Jae-in's administration. So nothing should be nothing should be uh, assumed with regard to the U.S. and South Korean relationship. This thing about forged in blood of the Korean War. People always say this. People always say this every chance they get. But the memory of the Korean War is passing. It's a long time away now. It's what 72 years since the war ended. And anyway, if Lee crosses some ill-defined line, Washington will act. Well, by that time, it'll be too late. The problem is Washington never does. There's always a reason not to act. Too busy with other things. It's provocative and will just make things worse. With South Korea, there's too much focus on the military-to-military ties and the bilateral economic relationship. Okay, these are strong, but that doesn't matter much as hardcore radicals are trying to undercut the relationship and seize total power and shift South Korea away from the US and toward China and North Korea. Most Koreans don't want this, but ruthless radicals have moved a democratic pro-US countries where most people don't want to go. Recall Venezuela, once democratic and America's strongest ally in Latin America, now a dictatorship. Clear thing is called for in the White House when it comes to South Korea. It appears Lee Jae-myung pulled fast Trump gets away with it. Others will think they had to. I'll go back here to this phrase here, seize total power. And this is something that I've already talked about, where currently Lee Jae-myung, of course, controls the executive branch of government. He also has enough leftist judges in the judiciary that effectively controls the judiciary as well. And the only one of the three branches of government that he does not fully control right now is the legislature. He already has a sizable majority in the National Assembly, but he needs a supermajority in order to change the Constitution. He needs 2/3 majority in order to change that. And he's just a few seats away from doing that. And so, as I've explained before, he's been going after conservative politicians, um, force, forcing them into the position where they are required to resign their seats. In other words, he charges them with various crimes, or he doesn't, but of course the prosecution does, acting on his desire, forcing them to resign. And then little by little, then before by-elections can be held, he's getting closer and closer to a point where he can amend the Constitution. And right now, I'm sure he will say things like, "Oh yeah, the bilateral relationship is important and stuff like that." But wait till he gets a supermajority in the legislature, and I predict that his tone will change dramatically overnight. and he will reveal himself to be the true leftist that he is, pro North Korea. And also, people in his administration will start talking about, how can we erase the demilitarized zone and stuff like that. Even though, right now North Korea, of course, is saying, "Hey, we're not interested. We're just a separate country, and unless you attack us, we're not going to attack you," or stuff like that. So we'll see what happens when Lee Jae-myung actually is able to seize a supermajority in the legislature, which could happen in not the next days or weeks, but could happen in the next month or so. All right. Now, I'm glad that this author did not mention Hak Ja-han, because she's sometimes, by some people, such as Newt Gingrich, sort of lumped in with this whole, anti-religious thing. But she is in a category of her own, and uh, she fully deserves what she's getting. Okay. Anyway, at this moment, she's still in her 72-foot square, um, or 72 square foot, I'm sorry, 72 square foot cell. And actually, I said yesterday that her lawyers might file a petition to release her, and that's actually what they've done. Uh, they've filed a petition saying that, there's really no reason to keep her locked up. And we'll see what the court says about that. But as I said, Lee Jae-myung effectively controls the judiciary. So I would be surprised if they let her go. They might, but I think that would only be the case if public opinion were on the side of the Family Federation. And it is definitely not on the side of the Family Federation. It's actually the opposite. So I think it is unlikely that she will get released, but we'll see. We'll see what happens. Um, and so there will be at some point soon, I think, probably in the next couple of weeks, there'll be an indictment, and then she'll be handed over to trial, and then um, we'll see what happens with that. But I see that the media is already speculating on how many years she's going to get as a sentence, and well, we'll see what happens. Okay. Previously, I said that I was skeptical that they would actually jail an 83-year-old grandmother uh, who was not well. But right now, the South Korean press still is they're having their feeding frenzy. Let's see, what else do we have here? Shall we go to Breitbart and see what's happening there? Oh, look at this. Knucklehead got arrested. Again, looks like. What's going on here? I can't. What's going on? Okay. All right. Am I still? I can't. I'm still connected, right? I can't bring it up. Oh, here we go. Now I got it. All right. I was having trouble with my Zoom window. Yeah. Well, let's see what's going on. This guy trying to break into the White House. Never a good idea. Secret Service arrests man attempting to scale White House fence. And there he is. $4.5 million for it. Also ordered state police to open a criminal investigation into the claims. And FCPS told Breitbart News via email that it has received the department's letter and welcomes the opportunity to answer the DOE's questions based on our ongoing review of these 2021 allegations. We want to reiterate that such conduct would be completely unacceptable in Fairfax County Public Schools, the district added. Although there is an ongoing state police investigation, we are committed to cooperating to the fullest extent possible with the DOE inquiry. FCPS remains focused on our commitment to academic excellence and opportunity for each and every student. Rah, 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 rah. In a safe and welcoming environment. uh, what the lies these people tell. Yeah. Um, right. Okay. So looks like FCPS got caught with their hands in the cookie jar, or and it serves them right. Serves them right. Of course, Fairfax County is a deeply blue area. Um, we lived there for how many years? Anyway, a number of years, and our kids graduated from. I guess all of our kids graduated from high school there. Yeah, and um, um, it became bluer and bluer and bluer as time went on. And so now, I guess they're reaping the consequences of that deep blueness. And there were teachers there who literally thought that children belonged to the state, especially in cases where the parents happen to belong to a cult, what they deem to be a cult. Uh, but FCPS, yes, they are a problem, and I'm glad that they got caught on this anyway. Maybe, maybe the Department of Education can actually do something good here before it gets shut down itself. Okay. All right, let's see what else is going on here, and let me bring you back here. Exclusive, Schumer going to own the shutdown. All right, well, we'll see. Dems threatening government shutdown over COVID era giveaways. Okay. Let's see how that works out. And the Michigan church attack that we talked about yesterday. Okay. Trump may initiate mass firings if Democrats force shutdown. All right. Shutdown would halt jobs and inflation reports, Labor Department says. But I think, some people are still going to get the information. I bet you. I bet you they're still going to be providing reports, just not to the general public. What's going on here? And so, for example, let's see, the labor report for labor statistics for September are due this coming Friday, the first Friday of the month, October 3rd. And these uh, numbers, although of course they're not all that accurate, as we found out, but they still influence, people's investment decisions and or the decisions of many managers, and also the influence the Federal Reserve and so forth and so on. And also, they will not be publishing the Consumer Price Index and Producers Price Index, cutting off information for businesses, investors, and policymakers. So we already know that these numbers are not really all that accurate in the first place. So, in a contingency plan published Friday, the department said nearly all employees of the Bureau of Labor Statistics would be furloughed during a shutdown that would prevent the release of the September employment report scheduled for Friday, as well as October's CPI and PPI reports, which provide key readings on inflation. So basically, investors will be flying blind, or else, hey, I know, by supply and demand, by supply and demand. Well, the stock market is always trying to forecast what's going to happen 6 months from now. Right. So they use these numbers to try and do that forecast. So, but anyway, we'll see. We'll see. Some people will make money, some people will lose money. I'm glad I'm not in the market. That's all I can say about that. All righty. Let's see what else we got going on here. Let's go someplace else. Have we been to Newsmax? Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay, we did Putin. Okay, we did that already. Let's go to Newsmax. Trump blasts deranged Democrats. Okay, that's not news. And YouTube pays $24.5 million for suspending Trump account. Okay. Trump can slash Education Department civil rights staff, according to the court. Let me bring this up so we can all read it a bit better. California State University system faces Trump probe. Chinese firms hit by new Trump blacklist. Right. Laughlin follow the money in ICE protests. Right. So they're detailing shutdown plans. ExxonMobil slashing 2,000 jobs globally. And strike on the Russian electric plant could mark turning point. What any article that has the word "could" in it, I sort of go over it. Yeah, just let's wait until we see whether it actually does or not. Okay. Zelensky proposes joint aerial shield with European allies. Former MI5 chief. We did that yesterday, right? Already at war with Russia. Historic day for, quote, eternal peace, unquote, in the Middle East. Mm-hmm. And Soros denies Trump allegations, 100% false. Well, we didn't expect him to come and confess, did we? All right, let's see here. Judge halts Trump plan to cut hundreds of VOA jobs. All right, let's see here. Okay, let's see if there's anything new on Fox. Governor Landry, I think he's that's Louisiana, right? Okay. That's what I don't like about Fox. Okay. All right. Yeah. You don't like me. I don't like you either. Okay. White House warns veterans services at risk if Dems block GOP funding bill. So, yeah, veteran services at risk. And father of the suspected Michigan church shooter apologizes to victims. Hmm. Oil falls. Let's look at the. We got 1 minute. Let's look at the numbers, shall we? Gold, by the way, it's down a bit this morning, but uh, it was it's still near the all-time high. Uh, okay, we talked about that a bit yesterday. Silver also now above $46 an ounce. That's pretty incredible. Oil, $62 for the West Texas Intermediate, and the Brent is $65. And so it's been fairly stable recently. Okay. China manufacturing PMI, uh, 6 month high. Okay. All right. And the dollar is down a bit to 97 now, 97. And we'll see what happens with that. Okay. All right, gotta go. Yep. The world continues to turn. And yesterday, we had a lot of news about possibility of nuclear war and so forth. And that still holds true. It hasn't gone away, but just nothing new on that today. All right. We'll see you tomorrow. Tomorrow's Wednesday. We'll do something. God bless, Godspeed. May his kingdom come quickly.